Don't be alarmed. The quasi-shimmering light before you is a trans-dimensional gateway to other worlds, other voices, other thoughts, and other realities. Up feels like down, and down feels like the number 7 on a Wednesday morning. Don't worry. That quivering, blood-boiling sensation under your eyebrows is all a part of the charm. Welcome to the PCC Multiverse.
And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you give us that thumbs up. And also as well, hit that notification bell when you know that the latest Pop Culture Cosmos video comes up right to you there on YouTube. Or also as well, if you follow us right there on your audio podcast format, you'll know that the latest episodes are coming right at you. And make sure you give us that 5-star review also as well. And for those longtime radio stations I still send this show out to on a weekly basis, you are so much appreciated for all the work you do and as far as what you do for your audience. And to those who listen to us on the radio, hopefully you will have a great weekend as well. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without a good friend indeed, and he is the man on Friday, the man that sets you up for the weekend in pop culture when everything is going right and everything is aligned, and it is right now late night for him, but he is here for you. He is, of course, the guru of pop culture. It is, of course, the great one, TJ Johnson. What's up, my friend?
What's up, brother? How are you, man? I'm telling you, the intros are just amazing. Like, I need you to be like my everyday hype person, and just that's how I want to walk in a room. Like,
well, I'll tell you what, they've got a good PA system. I know they've got a good PA system where you work at, so I could go there in the front, right there at the customer service desk, and I could just attention. Please roll out the red carpet. By the way, it's $1.58 a yard right there.
There you go. Yep.
Yes, the carpet section.
Right.
Please roll out the red carpet for the great one, TJ. Hey. Johnson.
Trumpets. Yes, doves in the background.
You know, if you saw El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano,
amazing match.
Yes, that's the type of intro you need with mariachi bands on both sides. As you come,
well, I wouldn't know how to act. You give me a live mariachi band as an intro anywhere. It's like traveling music. You give me a mariachi band to play music as I travel. I wouldn't know how to act, boy. I wouldn't sit still.
I think the sunglasses would come on. And you would relish the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely.
I think I know you fair enough now that I think you would. Don't give me this innocent stuff. No, that's not going to work with me. But it is, of course, TJ Johnson. Great to have him here as always. There's much to discuss. I do want to apologize to everyone. We couldn't bring you one of our regular shows. I know Josh is deeply, deeply upset because that is his favorite show of the year when we prep you for not E3, should be E3, could be E3, but isn't E3. So sorry, it's not E3. I'm serious, everyone. He was mad because something came up and he was just mad that he couldn't do it. But I've got the great one here. He's going to go ahead and cover Sony. And you still got Jeff Keighley's Summer Blame Fest.
Oh, Sony.
As far as who do you blame for the games that are going to come up on his show. It's not quite as good as Video Game Awards, but, you know, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that are going to be introduced. And also as well, what's coming up for them this weekend as well. So we'll go ahead and talk about that. Plus also as well, what's going on with something you haven't heard on Apple TV, you should, because if not, Javier Bardem is going to be stalking you because Cape Fear, that series came out, and I'll talk just a few minutes about that as well, among other things. But get right to it, my friend. I want to get to the weekend for the movies. This weekend comes out an interesting battle of the box office, something you and I and Josh in our competitions.
We missed it.
We all missed it. So you do not have to feel bad at all because we all three of us missed it. I kind of had a feeling about Backrooms because my daughter, Jen Alpha, knew and wanted to go see Backrooms at that time. It's like, well, I don't know if it's going to stick more than a week or two horror movie. Well, boy, was I wrong on that one because right now, heading into the very crowded summer box office. We are smack dab in it now because you've got the huge success story of Backrooms, financed for $10 million, A24's biggest movie ever. Backrooms created off the viral meme and the viral thing that was going on with the Backrooms. That is still exploding out into theaters. It earned over $100 million at the box office worldwide in its first weekend. And I'm not going to say it's not going to do poorly at all. I have a feeling it's going to put up a challenge against whoever gets thrown up against it. You have Obsession, which is one of the few movies ever, not during Christmas time, to ever increase its domestic, aka US, well, actually also the world as well, worldwide increase 3 weeks in a row as far as people going to see it. And the viral as for way that people are talking about it, it's just seems to be really nonstop. And this movie was even made for a substantially less than Backrooms, less than $1 million, and it has gone over $100 million, 100 times return on its investment already. Absolutely a win right there. I think it's Neon for that one. So with that said, those two face off against Scary Movie 6, the Wayne Brothers Return. And I'm not sure everybody's glad to see them if you look at some of the reviews as far as they're concerned, because again, scary movies. But then again, they're getting the same reviews that they got every time out. Pretty much is what they're getting as far as they either hit or miss with you on the jokes as far as they're concerned. And then, of course, also as well, Masters of the Universe, based off of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series from back in the day. I'm going to probably go see it at some point. My family wants to see it. I'm still on the fence about it because as much as I like the way that they portray He-Man from what I'm seeing in the clips, I'm not exactly loving the way Skeletor is because I think it's just too serious. I think the Skeletor clicks when it seems to have that cool, I got you, He-Man, for 27 minutes until the last 3 minutes of the show, until like you, He-Man, and then laughing and as he runs away. So your thoughts, my friend, on Masters of the Universe, what's going on with Scary Movie 6 and how they'll fare up this weekend?
I think it's going to be interesting. You have essentially new versus old. And when I say new versus old, I'm referring to new as in you got this new blood, this new gen. What are we in? Gen Z, Gen
Alpha.
Gen Alpha. Okay.
Yeah, we've run out of letters, Alpha, my friend. That's where
clearly,
we're at.
So here we are now. So you have the Gen Alpha, right? And then you have these old properties that are from the 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s, even the 80s in regards to Masters of the Universe. So it's going to be an interesting battle. I don't think the success of Obsession. I mean, and this is relatively all new information, or I'm sorry,
Backrooms and Obsession.
So the success of these two, and I feel terrible that I've been under a rock for the last week or 2 weeks apparently, but that is astounding, and that kind of return on investment is something that publishers they dream of 100 times over return on investments. Like even take away everything else, whatever else happens in this box office, the fact that it's already gotten so much from so little is such a huge win for all parties involved, that even if Masters of the Universe or Scary Movie 2500 can sell more tickets than this, it's still going to be considered like this is the darling story of pop culture. This is going to be the darling movie of the year for pop culture. I don't see anything else having that kind of return 100 times over. With that being said, I'm sure you could expect some kind of dip in what we've been seeing as far as their continued trajectory. But you also have to remember it's for two different audiences. Your Gen Alphas is definitely for your Obsession and your Backdoor. Those are definitely for Backroom, or definitely for your Gen Alphas, as you mentioned. So I don't see the dip off being terrible, because it's not really for the people that are going to be checking out Scary Movie 25,000 or Masters of the Universe anyways. Those are our generation. So we're the ones that are going to go see those, and then our kids and our nieces and nephews are going to be the ones that go see all the Gen Alpha stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two correlate, and how, if the release of Masters of the Universe and Scary Movie will actually have any kind of real effect on it. I don't see it, because they're just two completely different genres and two completely different styles, and two completely different um, experiences. And because there's such different experiences, I just don't see it having that huge of an impact. Doesn't mean that it won't, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see exactly how much of an impact it does have, if any. Because it's two different decades. It's two different. It's everything. Everything's different. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting though, for sure.
And what's gotten lost in all this, my friend, because you talk about the different audiences that will
Mhm.
go and see these movies. Like, for instance, the old my age is supposed to be clamoring for Masters of the Universe, from what we remember from watching
Yeah.
those cartoons back
Yeah.
in the day. Your generation is supposed to be clamoring for Scary Movie 6 because it came out in the late 90s and 2000s at the height of Scream,
Mhm.
and how it would, those horror movies back then were mocked by Scary Movie 6. They should have actually. I see what some of the movies that they're mocking, like The Substance, Michael, and some other movies that they're mocking. I think they're mocking the wrong movies when they're talking about horror movies that they're supposed to be mocking.
It's just
Uh,
pop culture at this point. It's not even
yeah,
just horror movies. It's just pop culture. They're poking fun at everybody and everything.
exactly. But and then you've got for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and we'll go back into one last thing I'll talk about with Gen Z and Gen Alpha when it comes to Backrooms and also as well Obsession, both those movies in a second. But lost in all this was the movie that was supposed to be the big competition, and you and I are going to get burned on this one too, and that's Mandalorian Grogu, which has been probably a disaster for Disney at this point. I told you my thoughts on it. Again, I thought this would have been better served as a season
Yeah.
of the show.
Yeah.
But Disney got greedy, wanted some other ways to go ahead and
No.
showcase it, and looks like they've really got burned by it. Now, mind you, it's less than what a traditional Star Wars movie has cost, but still, you're still talking 100. You're still talking 16 times more than Obsession, and 160 times more. No, yeah, 160 times more than Obsession, 16 times more than Backrooms is what it costs to make.
Yeah.
And with that said, forever, or now that we're getting to June, and there's going to be a star-studded movie coming out every single week. It
Yeah.
just means that the losses that are going to mount up for Disney on Mandalorian Grogu are going to get larger and larger and larger because it's getting left behind.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they're really banking on, obviously, I shouldn't say I think, they're banking on Avengers Doomsday. Disney, Marvel, they're all banking on that movie kind of bringing people back and bringing some much needed relief to the ledgers that are bleeding dry right now from Disney. I think that when it comes to the Star Wars property, they really, I think they need to kind of not let it go, but they need to let it rest. They need to let it lie for a little bit. Maybe go back to telling smaller stories. Maybe keep things televised for right now. Maybe in a serialized format. Well, like Mandalorian should have really been. Mandalorian and Grogu should have been a serialized format. I think that they have to really try to find the niche that was Star Wars and try to find a way to make it cool again, or make it more cool, I should say. I personally, if I had the opportunity, I would tell more stories with the people that we are actually invested with. And when I say that, I'm referring to I am hopefully optimistic that they find a way to bring another story into the Obi-Wan and Vader aspect. Not Anakin or Luke. I want Vader. I want Darth Vader. I want to see more of what happened between episodes 3 and 4. I want to see more of what happened in between 4 and 5 and what happened between 5 and 6. I think there's still so much that can be tapped into there. And I think the beauty of that is that you can still bring in our generations, right? So you can bring in the boomers, you can still bring in the millennials, you can still bring those generations in. And if you tell the story well enough, you could still maybe captivate more audiences with it. The problem with Star Wars is that we've gotten so entrenched in the Skywalkers, and we're scared to go away from them. So if we're scared to go away from them, just lean into it more. Just lean into, but the core Skywalkers. Don't start making, a baby Star Walker that was Leia's from you know what I mean? Like, don't start making it weird. Just keep it to the core, and let that tell its story, because that's what people are interested in. We're not interested in all these auxiliary characters that may have branched off from the star, from I keep wanting to call them Star Killers for some reason. I know that's what he was supposed to be, but Skywalkers. I keep wanting to focus on Skywalker. And when I say Skywalker, I'm talking about the core people, the people that we've already become accustomed to, the ones that we've had 6 movies getting to know, or 6+ movies, whatever, and some shows to get to know. If we're going to continue to milk Star Wars, then milk it for what people are actually interested in watching, and not just continue to expand the universe when people are not really interested in the universe being expanded. I mean, you have a little bit of people that are interested in like Ahsoka, which, but that kind of really ties into Anakin. You have some people that are interested in Darth Maul, but that really kind of ties back into episode 1. So you really can't seem to get away from that core first 6 movies. And so with that being said, just continue to expand upon the core 6 movies and continue to work with those characters and tell other stories based on those properties. I still think that there's room for great storytelling in there. I mean, and I keep going back to Rogue One, a fantastic story, a fantastic movie, one of the best Star Wars movies that I've seen in the last 20 years. And it really, while it didn't have anything to do with the Skywalker, so to speak, it was able to tell a story within the world that was already built right there, and we didn't have to go too far out. So they're in a very interesting position, and I wish that there was an easier answer for it. Selfishly, I want more of Darth Vader. I want more of Obi-Wan. I actually thought that series towards the end got pretty good. In the beginning, it was a little but as that Obi-Wan Vader series kind of wrapped up, I actually thought it was really good. That final fight between Vader and Obi-Wan, I thought was really, really cool. And it had some really, really interesting special effects that I didn't realize had happened until I actually went back and re-looked at a few of those scenes as of recently. But there was such an interesting story that was told with that. And it was almost like a very cathartic experience for people that wanted to see that middle ground, what happened right in between 3, what happened before 4. And there's so much room there to tell more of those stories. I really think that they would be remiss if they did not at least tap into that a little bit. And Hayden Christensen is so loved right now. Like, I remember when he was so panned for the first 3 episodes of Star Wars, and you feel terrible because he was just beat up and abused.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember,
Well, it wasn't his fault, man. It was all George Lucas. That was his writing and his
but
directing.
that's
You
his
can't.
acting. That's, of course,
He
sand
was
is
not.
so rough. It's so
He was a
rough.
kid. He was a kid. Well, look, whatever it is, he's loved now. So take that for
Yes.
what it is and take advantage of it. He still wants to do it. He's still obviously really good at doing it. He was amazing in Ahsoka. Um, I would absolutely lean into that more personally, but that could also just be selfishly wanting more of the core characters that we've already come to love for the first 6 episodes. So good luck, Star Wars, man. Good luck.
You're going to need it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens this time next year. You and I, hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll be back here talking about The Last Starfighter with Ryan Gosling this time next year, and seeing if that will click with audiences. But again, seeing what's gone on with Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm not so sure. But before we get to the half-hour break, I did want to go ahead and touch on one more thing with this Gen Z, Gen Alpha thing with Backrooms and also as well Obsession. I talked about it with Josh. When we first got wind of Obsession and how well it did, with Backrooms coming right behind it, and that seeing both those movies do well, are we seeing the next wave? And are we seeing the next wave of directors come from straight from YouTube? Because remember, there was a period of time before when I was a baby in the early 70s or late 60s when a myriad of directors came up through the ranks. Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg, some of the great ones that we know from cinema now that came out with, some Scorsese. They all came out in right in that area of 70s, early 80s, and they were called the hot young directors at that time. Spielberg was referred to as the hot young director at that time, and he was already in his 30s at that time. So be that as it may, and it's ironic because guess what comes out next week? A Steven Spielberg movie. But yeah, be that as it may, my friend, are we seeing, or are we in the middle because of what we've seen by the advent of YouTube and the platform that it has, an advent and influx of new directors? Because some of these directors will be tantalized about telling different stories outside the horror genre per se, as far as that's concerned. The maker of Weapons, who's doing the Resident Evil movie reboot. I'm not sure anyone asked for. He obviously is delving into a little bit more different things himself. But what I'm saying is, are we in the midst of seeing a new young wave of young directors that could be defining movies of all genres, not just horror, but all genres going forward? Because how many times do we see like all these indie directors? They get the gig from Marvel or another big platform, and they try to move on from there. Your thoughts, my friend, on what's going on and what we're seeing right now?
I think it's a natural evolution of cinema. I think it's a natural evolution just of life. There's always going to be next. Who's the next one up? We're witnessing that in the NBA. If you follow the NBA, we're witnessing that with Wembanyama. He's the up and coming. He's the next. They essentially want to give the league to this kid, and it's part of the natural. It's part of the natural cycle of things. It's time to make room for new faces, fresh blood, new voices, new feelings, new thoughts, seeing the world through a different set of eyes. I think all that's important, and we have to be willing to accept that. So I think it might be a little premature to say that we're already at that stage where we're going to start really seeing a lot of the new ones. Yes, with the success of these two in particular, that's huge. But I don't think we're quite ready to say we're at this next wave of new blood or new talent. I think we're on the cusp of it, and I think it's important.
Why do you say that, if I may ask?
Because we've got a couple, and I could be wrong too. So let me start by saying
there's been a couple more the past year, actually.
Yes.
2 or 3 more, with differentiating success with
Correct.
their initial offerings out there. But there has been more than just these two that we've seen now.
Well, I guess when I say these two, these are the two that seem to have really caught fire. As far as it becoming this sensational thing where we're seeing 100 times in return on investment in what they pay for the film. So I guess that's what I mean by it. As far as we see these two are the ones that have really seem to catch fire and really seem to make some noise. Not that there's only two of them, but I get you. I guess my point in saying that is rather it is just those two, or rather it is 4 or 5. There's room at the table for all of them. All the lights are going out. That they think I'm not here anymore. They cutting the lights off on me. They're trying to kick me out. They're not letting me get out.
But I want to hear what you have to say.
I'm not going anywhere. But I say all that to say, it's important that we recognize the new talent and the new blood and welcome it. And I think that it's an inevitability, and especially the way we consume media now. A lot of people, a lot of the Gen Alphas and whatnot, they grew up on YouTube. They grew up watching a lot of those people on YouTube do things. There's this kid that my kids watch on YouTube who's clearly, I think he's almost like a teenager at this point. They've been watching him so long. He's like Ryan or something like that. He started off as a YouTube kid that would play with toys, and now he's like a super influencer at this point. It's the way the world is going, and we have to be willing to We have to be willing to accept that these directors are going to come from completely different ways and walks of life than what we're used to, than the Scorseses, than the Spielbergs, than the Camerons, and it's just going to be a different wave, and it's going to be a different style, and we have to be willing to accept and appreciate that, and just kind of absorb it and let it become part of the zeitgeist that is pop culture. It is what it is, and we have to be willing to move forward with it. We can't be left. We can't be so caught up in what we had to not be able to appreciate where we are currently and where we're going. And I think we can. I think a lot of people can get caught up in doing that.
What I'll say is this: I've been looking up right now while you were talking about, the prospects of what we're seeing with right now with these YouTube directors, and the Daniels, who made Everything Everywhere All at Once. They started out as directors making music videos on YouTube. So I don't know if you really want to put them per se, but they're obviously at the high end of that. Chris Duckman, who's a YouTube movie reviewer, he put out Shelby Oaks last year. That was to middling success. Danny and Michael Philippou, who you know from Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, those were actually pretty good successes as far as the horror genre is concerned. Mark Fishbach for Iron Lung, that was actually did okay earlier this year. And then Curry Barker, what you see here with Obsession, and Kane Parsons, 20 years old, that made Backrooms. So we'll see. We'll see if this generation and more YouTube directors come out of it. As far as I have a feeling that Hollywood's going to tap into it, because you and I both know once one thing is successful, hey, that's great. Let's just start watching YouTube and see where it goes from there. Let's see if we can get our next directing star. So we'll see what happens. But you and I both know we're going to see more hits and misses from people brought into that field. But I'm looking forward to it indeed. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because it is something that I think that needs to be discussed, because it's also a shot in the arm for the industry as well, because you're worried about where that next generation, because we're now seeing the Spielbergs in their 70s, the Scorseses in their 70s, although Scorsese is still doing a whole bunch of stuff now. Now he's embracing AI and everybody's getting mad about that. These Nolan is in his 50s, these guys and gals that are directing, Patty Jenkins, these great directors are all getting up there in age. So where does the next generation come in? And it looks to be like not necessarily from film school, but they might be just coming from YouTube indeed. So I thought I'd go ahead and run that by you. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting weekend. Which generations?
Battle of the generations.
Yes. What's scary is, though, for just a little capper on Mandalorian Grogu, I was looking at the dailies for this week, and as we're recording this, it is now almost gone down to the level of Michael, which came out 30 days beforehand. So that's where we're at with Mandalorian and Grogu. Very sad indeed. But I want to hear your thoughts on that. If you have any thoughts out there, people, please let us know on the different generations of movie makers and moviegoers, because I have a feeling that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are actually, they're going to the movies because they now have movies that relate to them. And this is something you and I have talked about for a long time, about making Star Wars and Marvel and all these other DC and all these other IPs relevant. You have to make stuff that's relevant for them, things that they can grow up with. Because Star Wars almost 50 years ago was something that those teenagers and those Gen Z and Gen Alphas of the time, that's theirs. That's theirs, and that they grew up with. And we'll see if this is their generation as far as it's concerned, their Star Wars indeed. So we'll see what happens. But if you have thoughts on anything related to what's going on at the box office, do you think Masters of the Universe will strike it rich? I'm going to go see it, but I'm still, I need a cool Skeletor, and I think I'm only going to get the basic grovelly Skeletor that I don't want to see. I don't think that they're getting it right. The Geico commercial. Just watch the Geico commercial. That's all you have to do. You've got a cool Skeletor. And don't get it. They don't get it. But if If you have thoughts on what's going on this weekend with Master of the Universe, Scary Movie 6, and Return of the Wayans brothers, which did you even are you even thinking about that one? Because that one, again, I wouldn't mind seeing that again, as far as seeing how much they can still bring, or how much is left in the tank for these, because seemingly every Wayans brother has writing credit in this movie. So
Well, I mean, there's only 25 of them, so
yes,
I get it. Probably not. Probably not. With Scary Movie, there was a style of humor that from what I've been reading, as far as what people are saying about it, was funny in the 2000s. And that style of humor does not always translate. I think we're not the same people we were in the 2000s. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of that they bring to the 2026, and if it is going to resonate. I know for me personally, I don't think that it's going to really be my cup of tea. Um, and that's not to knock anybody else that's going to enjoy it. So I don't want to come across as like a prude old man, because I'm far from it. However, I think that there's a way that you can tell a joke, and there's a way that you can make things funny that doesn't have to cross certain lines. And I don't know that Scary Movie is going to do those, and I don't even know if they're going to be able to reinvent anything anyways at this point, because we've seen so much. I just don't I don't think anybody asked for it, and I don't know if anybody's really going to be able to gonna respond, because nobody asked for it. And granted, nobody's seen it coming, but we also didn't ask you to make it. So you know what I mean? Like,
I
okay,
know
well,
what you
okay,
mean.
there's Scary Movie. I mean, okay, I might see it just because, but no, for me, I have no desire to.
There might be a reason why it hasn't come out for over a decade. Yeah, so we will wait and see. But it is, of course, the weekend of the box office. If you have thoughts, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here at the PCC Multiverse. It is the great one, TJ Johnson, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Uh, Speaking of scary things, um, well, actually, let's talk about the good first. Looks like you're going into secret agent mode, because 007 First Light came out
Yes.
latter part of May. I finally got my copy. I'm into about 3 hours in. I'm going through it slowly. I'm that guy that tries to break the game. When you see a character, when Money Penny walks down a hallway and tells you to follow her, I'm the one that just like,
Yep. 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 Yep.
wants to,
That was me. That
let
was
me go
me.
see if I can find any
Well, you want to see
something.
everything. You want to
Yes,
explore. I want to get
yes.
involved in this world. I love going through Q's lab. Like, I just love to find every little Easter egg and every little thing that I can.
But invisible walls seem to be. I'm just trying to see if there's any flaws in the design making. But so far, it's been pretty good
You
for me. Combat. I'm just trying to get the combat down as far as is concerned for me at this point. That's been a little bit tricky for me to get used to, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing right now. I think it's a great portrayal of James Bond. Of course, we talked about the huge success last week as far as initial recording. It's got an 88 on Metacritic.
Mhm.
Amazon's already talking about how they want to take over the series. IO Interactive is saying, no, we're still got a trilogy to do here with Young's James Bond, because this was started before the sale to
Yes. Yeah.
Amazon took place. So
Yeah.
that's in question. I'll let them figure it off down the line. I do know that they probably sold in the neighborhood of 2 to 2.5 million, 3 million right now as far as sold, because they sold at least 1.5 million in the first 24 hours. So it's a pretty good success story. You've been enjoying your time with
I
007
have.
First Light. You and I talked about this. You and I were hyped for this. You and I pre-ordered for this, me for the first time in a decade. And I think it's been well worth the wait.
I would agree. And I want to preface by saying I was never a huge James Bond guy. I've seen the movies, I've seen just about all of them. I think I didn't really see the Sean Connery ones or the ones
I've
that
seen
came
all
out.
of them. I am a James Bond, not a super fan, but I'm a James Bond. I'd say a good sized fan. I'd say
That's
that.
fair. That's fair. So I say I preface what I'm about to say, but saying that for me, this is a very definitive origin for me of James Bond and of the character, and kind of getting more into who James Bond is from the literature, not so much the movies or anything like that, because the movies made Bond very pretty up until Daniel Craig. I mean, and it's not to say that Daniel Craig's not a good looking guy, but they just made him very much polished and very much bravado and all that, and all the charisma and all that stuff with that's typically associated with James Bond, which is great. That's a great thing. That's how they were able to establish the character. What I've been enjoying is seeing is understanding how he got there. And as you progress further in the game, I'm quite a bit further than you. But as you progress further in the game, you get to see more and more of those attributes and more of those traits really kind of fleshed out and come to fruition. Um, it's been a lot of fun. It actually makes me want to explore the Hitman series, the Hitman game again, and maybe play it with a little bit more um, earnest. I played it before and kind of just played it. It was another game to try out, and the whole social stealth aspect of it, I really didn't jump into it as much as I maybe would have had I been more invested. But after playing James Bond, it makes me a little bit more curious to get back into the Hitman series and try different ways. I'm really looking forward to my next playthrough of it so I can try to do the same thing but do it differently using different aspects. There are multiple ways you can get through the game. Granted, it's still linear, but you can still solve problems with different tactics and different methods of doing so. So I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Like you, it took me a while to get down to combat, but once I got it down, I got it down, and it's a lot of fun. And the ability you have to take people down, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun. So once you get the combat down, it turns into a completely different ball game, and it feels that much better. So sometimes it's like, you know what? I don't really feel like I don't feel like sneaking around. I'm just gonna take everybody out. Like, I can't figure out this one clue. Screw it. Everybody's dying. Like, not dying, but getting knocked out so I can move on to the next portion, which is something that I would see Daniel Craig do. He would just be like, screw it, and just go for it. And it's a fun experience. And I think that's what games are missing nowadays. It's just fun. And it doesn't have to be a 40-hour open world slugfest where you're or drag, where you're just going through and trying to do quest after quest after quest. I just want a game that's going to be fun. And yes, it's linear. Yes, it's first. It's a third person fighter or action adventure, however you want to look at it. And it's linear, and it doesn't seem like it's going to have a ton of branching storylines or anything of that nature. And that's okay. And I think people have to remember that that's okay. There's this renaissance of single player games right now, and I'm here for it. I'm enjoying every aspect of it. So James Bond is great. I have it probably sitting more like a 92, 93. There's some things there's some things that need to be polished. Absolutely, for sure. This is their first shot. But I think it's been a great game so far. I really do. And I think it would be a contender for game of the year if this juggernaut that is Grand Theft Auto wasn't coming out. Because
I don't blame you.
There's nothing that's gonna beat that. It's just not.
Yeah, because I'm not huge into Forza,
Yeah.
but I know that Forza is obviously deserving of that type of acclaim. I know there's some other smaller games that have come out this year that have really garnered some interest, including some 10s from IGN and other places as well. But for a big budget game, I do want to put for consideration what I've seen so far, what I've played so far of 007 First Light, because I think it's reinvigorated the interest into James Bond, and especially since they're looking for James Bond, the actor in the film movies coming up. We'll wait and see exactly what they do. But this obviously has created a lot of great interest because IO Interactive has really done a great job indeed. But speaking of video games, it is, again, the week that some people know as not E3, could be E3, should be E3, would have been E3, but sorry, it's not E3. But seemingly everybody still gathers in and around the early part of June to go ahead and show off their wares, except for Nintendo, which, we're going to go ahead and do it in our own time.
That's Nintendo.
What else is new?
What else?
But Sony just had its state of play with a lot of speculation. And again, I know that Josh was very upset that he couldn't speculate on some of this. Your thoughts, some games introduced, including Until Dawn 2, which was a surprise, especially seeing the fact that it looked like, something out of The Sims 2026, as far as the character models are concerned. But Neil, I digress. We saw obviously what was going on updated with Wolverine, which is a lot of what we saw at Sony State of Play, and a lot of what we will see this week is geared for how many games can we shove into the month of September and start and stay away from GTA 6. Pretty much what it comes down to it. But we also saw Wolverine, which looked, that was the star of the show, I think, in a nutshell. I was really impressed with what I saw there. There's a lot of third party stuff that we can go into if you want, but obviously the one that everybody is talking about and the most divisive, just because I'm assuming, for the way that the trolls are, it's just because it's a female, is God of War Laufey, which details of Kratos' wife who passed away. They show her burning in the funeral pyre, and then ending up on a new ethereal place where she has to battle to go ahead and see what she could do to battle all the forces in the universe to go ahead and see what she could do to get back to her family. So your thoughts on, first off, I guess the most divisive part of Sony's State of Play, God of War Laufey.
Yeah, so I think I'm most disappointed in this. This is when it disappoints me to be a gamer, and this is somebody made a comment on X. I just called it X. I didn't call it Twitter for the first time ever. Somebody made a comment on X where they said nobody wants to play as an suburban 43-year-old mom, and I think we have such a narrow perspective, we being gamers and people that are consuming of media. We have such a narrow mindset, and not all of us. So I'm generalizing, but we seem to have this narrow mindset on what beauty standards are and what can be described as sexy, or what can be described as strong, or what can be described as attractive, or what can be described as any of these adjectives, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But I think where we get things wrong is we act like everything has to fit inside of a certain standard as far as what it's supposed to look like. I use the example of, we can use this example obviously with God of War and Kratos' wife, Freya. But even going back to Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, when it came out, 7, 8 years ago at this point, they didn't like the model that was for Mary Jane, and they didn't like the way she looked. They didn't like the way she was presented. She wasn't sexified. Or even if you go back to when they rebooted Tomb Raider and they made the model for Laura Croft not as buxom. She wasn't busting out the top. She wasn't overly curved, overly curvaceous. They desexified it. But I think that they made it a big deal to point out that there's more to these characters, there's more to these stories than their sex appeal. There's more to these characters than how attractive they are, and there's bigger stories to tell, and we still can't seem to figure that out. I know that there's this whole anti-woke campaign, and everybody feels like, we don't want to necessarily play with a girl, or, a woman can't do certain things, or whatever the case may be, whatever foolishness, as a father to a 15-year-old phenomenal young woman, young lady, who is killing it in everything that she does. She just became a lifeguard for the summer just because, right? Like that's my kid. She just became one just because. Like I want to save lives. So I'm gonna be a lifeguard. Like there's nothing that they can't do. And the fact that we still have conversations where we act like women can't be the lead protagonist in anything is just beyond me. And it just shows how narrow-minded and how toxic, to be honest with you, the gaming community truly can be. Um, Regardless of if you like playing as a female protagonist or not, there's a story to be told here, and I for one am interested to hear it. I wanted to know more about this woman that brought Kratos back from the dead, so to speak, and was able to give him life again and give him something to live for. I want to know more about how that woman came to be and how that woman got Kratos to where he is. And if we can get some of that story with this, then I'm all for it. I think that there's much more to be told with it. And I'm excited to dive back into the world of God of War. I'm excited to dive back into that aspect. Yes, we want more Kratos. Yes, we want more Atreus or Loki, however you want to call it. Yes, we want more of that. And I think that should be. I think that's going to happen. And that's going to come. It's not a matter of if; it's just a matter of when. But there's other stories that can be told within that, and I think that we have to be willing to at least give it a shot to see some of these other stories being told, and not let it fail because it doesn't meet the standards of what we feel like a game should look like, or the protagonist doesn't fit the mold of what a female protagonist should look like. We're not staring at her curvaceous butt the entire time. She's actually, a 35, 40-year old person, or appears to be 35, 40-year old woman who is kicking butt and taking names, and is just as ferocious as the lead protagonist is in the game. So we have to really just allow games to just be games, and not get so caught up in the anti-woke campaign or whatever campaign it is that they're trying to do. Just enjoy the game. And yes, there can be female protagonists. Yes, there can be male protagonists. Yes, there can be children protagonists. It's a game, man. Like, I don't know. People can just be so ugly and stupid and just nasty, and it's just unnecessary. It really is. I'm looking forward to it. I want to try it out. I'm looking forward to playing it. And I think Deborah Ann is a fantastic actress, and I like the fact that they used her likeness and her voice and all the above. And I'm for it. I'm for it.
I agree with you on every sentiment that it shouldn't be a non-starter for people just because of that aspect. By the way, again, Faye, who is named as Kratos' wife in as far as in the God of War, has her name is adopted to Laufey for this. That's why they get the title for that. But it is one and the same individual in regards to that is concerned. Yeah, I agree. Just 100%. It's just ridiculous that in 2026 we're still talking about this. That
Mhm.
there's without even seeing the game in its full, we've only saw about a 15-minute clip of playable game, and it just seems to be playing like every single God of War game from
Yep,
what I'm seeing.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
just because it's a woman doing it should make no difference.
Yeah,
Just how
yeah,
is the story? Is it
yep,
relatable?
yep.
Does it have all the mechanics there? And does it combined with enough variance in gameplay or variance in foes that you defeat or battle
Hmm.
against? Does it
Hmm.
keep things interesting throughout a story and a narrative? That's what you want, as opposed to
Yes,
exactly who is specifically the protagonist per se, as far as it's concerned. So I don't know.
yeah,
It's ridiculous. Just again, the fact that we're having this conversation, the fact that there's divide over it in 2026 just because of who it is instead of just what it is.
yes.
Just It's just ridiculous.
That's
Just
that's it's
absolutely
crazy.
ridiculous.
Now, if we were to have a conversation on if it should be its own standalone title, if it should just be an add-on, that's a conversation I'm willing to have, and that's a conversation I'm willing to entertain. But if we can have a protagonist that's a woman, is just not something I want to even talk about in 2026. Like, this is insane. It's crazy.
Before we get to give you the quick rundown, everyone, of exactly what was shown off there, and then our final grades on PlayStation State of Play, I do want the other high profile game. And no, sorry, it's not Until Dawn 2. The other high profile game, of course, Wolverine,
Wolverine.
Marvel Wolverine, that's
Yes.
coming out. I mean, besides GTA 6, PlayStation is writing a lot of its high hopes on that from
Yeah.
2026. Your thoughts, man, on this? Because again, you were high from the get go on this.
Yeah, man.
You're the X-Men man in all
Yeah.
this. You and Josh are more X-Menish than I am on this, and you were really, really, really. Oh, so the lights come back on. See
Yep,
now,
yep, yep. Look at
see, it depends on the
that.
subject. So, your thoughts, my friend, on
Okay.
Wolverine, and your thoughts, because it doesn't sound like you were having the same kind of great vibes you just once did
Yeah,
on
man.
this.
So let's keep it a buck, and let's talk about all the things that make Wolverine great, right? So the game looks phenomenal. The aesthetic, the attention to detail, look really really good. Wolverine is like his accurate comic height. Like, he looks like he's 5'3". Like, he's a short guy in the game, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's bloody. It's visceral. It is everything you would expect a Wolverine game to be. It is everything that the 2008 Wolverine Origins game for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were.
I feel a butt coming.
But here's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is that it feels like Spider-Man with a Wolverine paint job. And what I mean by that is I don't know if they just can't seem to get past the Spider-Man combat formula. It moves like Spider-Man. It just feels like it feels like it's Spider-Man with the Wolverine cover on it. And it just doesn't seem to really move the needle. There are some things, and it's so hard it seems like it's so difficult to get certain things in video games. Like, it's so difficult to make a Superman game. It'd be very difficult to make a game about a person who essentially can't die. You have to find a way to nerf his abilities to make it fit the game narrative. And I feel like that's what they have to do with Wolverine. They have to make it so that he's not as indestructible as we've come to know him to be in the comics and in the modern lore that is of Wolverine. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not as high on it. It just didn't seem to move me the way I was expecting it to. It really does feel like Spider-Man toned down as far as its ability to traverse and move. And, he's still a walking tank in as far as Wolverine, but now he's moving almost as fast as Spider-Man is moving. And it just feels off. And I don't think there's an easier way to put that. It feels like we did this already with Wolverine Origins. It feels like this is a reskin of some of the things that were done in that game. I think some of the aspects of it are really cool. I know that people are up in arms about some of his costume regenerating along with his body, which I think is a really weird thing to be upset about in 2026. But I understand people want to have their details and they want to have the cake and eat it too. Um, and it's not like it's the entire uniform that regenerates. There are quite a few spots where if he has a hole blasted in his chest and at his back, his chest will regenerate, but the clothes on his back don't regenerate. So I am just not as excited about it. I feel like I was expecting this huge thing where, that it has its own, the Insomniac Marvel verse has its own universe as far as I think it's 1818 or 1414 or something to that effect. They have their own universe, but they've already made it very clear you won't see Spider-Man. Spider-Man won't be anywhere near this game. He won't be, I don't know if he's not going to be mentioned. Maybe he'll be mentioned, but maybe he won't. But he's not going to be anywhere near the game. You're not going to see any Miles Morales. You're not going to see any of Spider-Man's rogue gallery anywhere near the X-Men. And granted, they work in the same city. Like, there's no X-Men in this game except for Jean Grey. But the X-Men are not a thing in this game, according to what the developers have been saying. As far as what I've been reading after the state of play, X-Men aren't a thing. Well, Wolverine does work with another group, but they're going to kind of help fellow mutants that are being attacked by the Ravagers. Mutants are kind of underground right now. They're not really well known. So there's a lot of things that are, a lot of liberties being taken with the story. And granted, it's their own Marvel verse, so they're entitled to do that. But I think what we were expecting, we were so let down with Spider-Man 2 that we as a collective, and I'm going to speak for the collective, we are very cautious with this one. It doesn't feel like it's a far enough leap. It doesn't feel Wolverine. It doesn't feel like it's enough Wolverine to warrant it. It feels like it's a lot of Spider-Man still. And some people are not going to be upset about that, but you're going to have some people that feel like, well, I feel like we've been there and done that already. I don't really feel like it's moved the needle at all. So I can imagine what's going to happen with the Wolverine game is the same problem that we have with Superman games. You have to find other ways to make it bigger and better, and we're not having an easy time doing that.
What always gets me is I find like flaws when I see these gameplay slices and whatnot. And I remember him jumping off of a roof onto an enemy, and then the other enemy is just standing there right beside him with a gun in hand, just watching
it happen.
Yeah. Waiting for his turn.
Yeah.
It was just like, Insomniac, what are you doing wrong here? But yes, the visceralness of the goriness, that they've got things.
They got the look.
Yeah, they got the look and aesthetics down perfectly, but the story-wise and how it's portrayed in the presentation is very much what I've seen, like you said, from Spider-Man 1 and 2. And does it deviate from that? We'll have to wait and see. And I don't think it will, because Spider-Man 1 and 2 are well received, and if it ain't broke, why go trying to fix it?
Spider-Man 1 was well received. Spider-Man 2 is a little bit more mixed. A little more mixed on Spider-Man 2. I think the formula was starting to it was great at first, and then they got Spider-Man 2 and it was like, okay, so it's more of the same. And I'm hoping that with Wolverine, they look at that and be like, oh, okay, it looks like even more of the same. Hopefully this is gonna be a little different, but it just looks like a Spider-Man. It just looks like Spider-Man with Wolverine with claws. Like it really does. I'm
I don't know. It's got a 90 on Metacritic, so
Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Metacritic, yeah, that's great.
Well,
but
well
everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else. No, I get it. And the Miles Morales that came out after it and whatnot, as far as that DLC concerned. But we'll see what happens as it's coming out in September. But I wanted to go ahead and run off real quickly to everyone out there what was shown off. Rayman's Legend Retold, Silent Hill, Townfall, Stuntman, Hollywood, a return to Stuntman.
That's my pick. That's my pick. I'm excited about that one.
Okay. Might be the only one because I'm not sure. Anybody younger than you is probably going, huh?
Yeah, probably. I love Stuntman.
Yeah, exactly. The Lost Wild, Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis, which is the first of 2 Tomb Raider projects. Until Dawn 2, like I mentioned, that's actually also coming out as well. Phantom Blade Zero, Onimusha: Way of the Sword, which I heard it's at $90, I think, as far as it's concerned. That ain't happening. No Rest for the Wicked, Kamuri, Ill, which got a second look, which I think for the horror fans out there is going to really scratch that itch. We talked about Marvel Wolverine, Marvel Tolkien Fighting Souls, which we got a taste of that. More DLC for Marathon coming in to try and save that game. And then, of course, Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition Remastered, God of War Laufey, and Dune Awakening. Its console release, as far as it's concerned, later this year, and Control Resonant. Banco the Chef, which, if you know Dave the Diver, which is a spiritual sequel to that, and Ace Combat 8. In the weirdest title ever, Wings of Thev. But overall, man, I told you what I thought. I was underwhelmed, and there was a lot of titles which I wanted to see, like Naughty Dog, Intergalactic, announcement of a new Uncharted, blah, 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 blah. I was underwhelmed. I give it a 6 out of 10 simply because of a Wolverine looked okay. Viscery, but we talk about that. And then some stuff coming out that's going to be interesting that probably will come out on Xbox as well. But 6 out of 10 for me. What did you think, my friend?
Yep, I'm pretty much in line. I think I may have given a little bit more because I really enjoyed.
I did enjoy 6.5. I think
I did say 6.5. Yeah, I really enjoyed God of War. Wolverine let me down, but I did enjoy God of War. I had no idea that was coming, so that was a nice surprise. And then to get so much of it, we got a 20-minute clip to really be able to kind of see where it came from. And then what's been fun is watching like YouTubers and TikTokers and all that try to piece together where the spots are where he was actually talking to Faye and where like it happened during the game. And that's been actually a lot of fun. So
Jack Quaid is a cube.
Yeah, there you go. He's a cube. He is a gelatinous cube. I don't know why they did that. That one I'm not sure about, but
pitch to Jack Quaid. Hey, we want you to be a cube. Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, sounds good. Sign me up.
But if you have thoughts on PlayStation State of Play, please let us know at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode. For your weekend pleasure out there, everyone, one thing I'd like to go ahead and give you guys a tip on is Cape Fear on Apple TV+. The series started this past week. Javier Bardem is back playing in the spotlight, playing the character Robert De Niro played way back when, the Brian De Palma film. So go ahead and check it out this weekend. Amy Adams, Patrick Wilson, a really good cast. The Legend of Vox Machina also as well on Amazon Prime. Also a high recommend for season 4. But my friend, it's been a great episode. Any last thoughts before we head on?
It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to doing it again. Let's see what Xbox bring. Xbox better bring it, man. I've got high hopes for this girl. She better bring it, man. She better bring it.
If you get the word, man, and you like what you see or you don't like what you see, you hit
we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. One way or the other. Good, bad, and in between.
So for TJ Johnson, This is Gerald Glassford. It is another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.
Don't be alarmed. The quasi-shimmering light before you is a trans-dimensional gateway to other worlds, other voices, other thoughts, and other realities. Up feels like down, and down feels like the number 7 on a Wednesday morning. Don't worry. That quivering, blood-boiling sensation under your eyebrows is all a part of the charm. Welcome to the PCC Multiverse.